So we'll begin our teaching for today. Some of you might find some of the topics today a little difficult to understand, but please just listen and try your best.
다음에 또 발집 컨센스 자나나도 사마하 거야 되라 발집 컨센스 소개하래 이게 나오네 레우시바 이 뭔고를 붙이게 하게 보는 송아게 도르도 소개 아데파데 나도 사마 대봐야 돼 최제고 상부야 돼 최제도가 최 강대제 제고야 돼 제가 못 쓰거든요. 이 미디 내가 그런 거지. 당고에 대대지야 누구 쪽. 지금 subject 그 도도라고 힘보다고 지고로 쓰고. 어떻게 되는 게
the teachings today come from the Lama Tutup Parche Kunsel, which many of us are familiar with through the Parche Lamsa prayer. And so this is the fourth chapter from the Essence of Manual of Oral Instructions. And here, Guru Rinpoche gives a teaching. Gives us a teaching on concerning mantra practice. That's very brief, but essential. Now, all of us, we have trust and faith in the tantric practices, and we want to practice them. We want to apply them, but we're a little bit confused about how where to do that. So here, Guru Rinpoche points out to us exactly how we are supposed to practice the path of mantra. And he does that in a very essential, condensed, and pithy way.
Dharma ajeng dano saksa ye tabe aapno baat ene yang ingin de dele singde jinggur thamji jungwa tsabe nambu de sengso os tsabe nambu de kare somarese na thambo Adela Tisumbe. Adunyebaga, Selmetaba. In a legion days, foreign means Machiva, Ishi. Lona Machis. Aljoro Chopo song. Another did Aljo Chopo said it. Another million Rinpoche TikTok. In a church in the Lang Lama Tanjal. Never that church should be become a minute day. We may say the Raya capital. At the nature rats had to show you is a chetuna. Jewish of the Tokyo. He ended Nanzo show the journey, middle Rinpoche. How about the touch of in some way? Yes.
So the text begins by saying, once again emerging from Samadhi, the lotus-born master taught the Srita Yoga, the source of all mandalas. And then following this, Guru Rinpoche teaches on the four mind changings, the difficulty of attaining the precious human body, death and impermanence, karma, cause and effect, and the shortcomings of samsara. These four topics. And he does that. And the text reads, one who has obtained the supreme freedoms and riches and has grown weary of impermanence. So what we should understand here is that we have attained the precious human body. We have the desire to practice the Dharma. We have encountered the Lama. And all of these things are incredibly difficult, incredibly rare to obtain. It's incredibly rare to attain a human, precious human body with which you can practice the Dharma. And if we do practice the Dharma, we're guaranteed to experience results. So after that, it says, and has grown weary of impermanence. So what that's saying is that even though we have attained the supreme freedoms and riches, which is so difficult, it's actually incredibly easy to lose them. However, we're not sure when that will happen, when we will die, when we will lose the precious human body. So what Guru Rinpoche is advising us is that we should always, at all times, in all situations, keep this a sense of impermanence in mind. Otherwise, we'll end up lost in distraction. And so through being able to remember impermanence, that'll lead us to the ability to put the Dharma into practice.
Miki wa ju ki laga lenting simtala nyamong ba tunga cha siatang timu majar chatok chik ne ba jang sena se ju di nyamong ba sim nam dong ne ba ju yung sa tawa de tangzi ma se de ni jun se de na miki wa ju le ma khat ko yo Arang ke sem de nyom ba tru de ma kha du yo nga nyama ta pa sam de do yoge ni konta pa nga ma sa nga sam de na kha du yo sam ba tela ni ju se de eso ni ju de chuk chung chung go re so na go ro chi ma re so chuk chi bo go re so de de chak ko so ba chak ko chuk chi bo go re so Di kiawe tap jala, manzo ki nyomomba, ma desha sedang timu majara chado dojo, sem na tanga trigu dojo tap, chara sem na so kubi, so sem na tan, sedang na kibu doga, do, desha na kibu doga, ngarang sem na so tada, ini chara na hadu. Or that condition is them out of the end.
And then continues saying should with intense renunciation. So this is telling us that basically the 10 non-virtues from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, telling falsehood, gossips, and so on and so forth. The root of all of these 10 non-virtues are our mind with the 5 poisons: right? Attachment, anger, ignorance, pride, and jealousy. And you can add another, greed, for 6. So these 6 poisons. When our mind is under the influence of them, it leads us to engage in the 10 non-virtuous actions. But the root of all of that is ego clinging, a sense of self, and this idea that I want to be free from the 5 poisons, or the 6 poisons. I want to be free from ego clinging and this sense of a self. That is what we call renunciation. And here, Rinpoche is not saying that you should have just a casual sense of renunciation. No, instead he's saying it should be very intense. Right? And I'll share with you the way in which you can cultivate intense renunciation. Really, the main way is to check with yourself, when you're feeling anger, when you're feeling desire, when you're feeling ignorance. Is it nice? Do you enjoy it? Or does it give you a lot of challenges, hardships, unhappiness? So you can check with yourself and observe. And then you'll see what it feels like to be under. You'll see very clearly what it feels like to be under influence of the 5 poisons and the afflictions. And in that way, you can cultivate very strong, intense renunciation to free yourself from those states of mind.
दूसरे दे उले नारा मारो जो मोरो पोसो वाला पहला सुने से पहला वो सच्ची सुने से पहला वो सानो ना बुढ़िया बुढ़ा oh ये सुझाव आणि तीसरा ते अज्ञान कर्म छै ना कर्म कुल लिएछ कर्म भनेको कहाँ देख्ने काम कर्म भनेको काम हो नि मनले विचार नराम्रो गरे भने को खुसी हुँदैन पहिला तिमी हुँदैन रिस उठ्यो भने तिमी खुसी हुँदैन गाली गरे भने तपाईँ आफ्नो मन खुसी हुँदैन झुट बोल्यो भने झुट बोलेको छ भने तिमी खुसी हुँदैन हैन आम्ही म्हणतो ना चालक माणसाचा डायरेक्ट झूठ बोलतात खूप माणसं खुशी जातात म्हणतात कसं विचार जाण और 10 अकर्मा 10 अकुशल कर्मा आणि मन को ना राम्रो हामीले क्लैश गर्छ क्लैश 5 क्लैश भनेको नराम्रो विचार सोच पहिला रिस रिस भनेको मान्छे अर्को रिस नदिने नि तिमी आम्नुले हेर्नुपर्छ के धर्म भनेको हामीले कसो गर्छ रिस भनेको अर्को मान्छे रिस रिस उठेछ भन्छ अस्ति पहिला म रेफरमा सिकाएँ नि त्यस्तो रिस उठेको छ हिजो त धेरै ठुलो उठ्यो यसो रिस लोभ समाउने यो मेरो कमान्डी अझ नै हाम्रो लुगामा कमान्डी हुन्छ मुख अनुहारमा कमान्डी हुन्छ गाडीको कमान्डी हुन्छ नामको कमान्डी हुन्छ हैन खानदानको कमान्डी हुन्छ केटीहरूको ब्यागको कमान्डी हुन्छ केटाको गाडीको कमान्डी हुन्छ हैन
Konchuksunga senta sambaga jinsen chiri naka.
Ani
tama telia.
Irsha.
Sangi jumdin on va tama telia. Tama telia. Endale mithamji ko. Nago doine ya tama da hari. Les
महान गुरुले यो 10 अकुशल कर्मबाट छुटाउन चाहिन्छ नराम्रो सोचबाट छुटाउन चाहिन्छ भन्ने मान्न चाहिन्छ बुझ्यो है यदि त नेपाली अध्याउँछ त्यो खै नेपाली यदि नेपाली सुन्ने काम गर्छ
Rinpoche was saying that he's speaking a lot of Nepali. He's just watching the audience and how they're kind of shocked. Oh, Rinpoche can actually speak a lot of Nepali.
Make what you become, give out to the foot on the land. The Chinam rounds for church, you have to forget a long to some of the sound of the God. Mazamon is some of them. Some the button. Church is some of them. Marana, some of them, Sebat, yeah, that didn't make it to the chair. 이렇게 개화주니만 하고 가르치는 배나 소주위기 개화대 소 맞지 따라다 얘네 꾸마제기 독초대 집아대 꾸마마제 맞아요 난 집아대 아처럼 레벨 로ям스나 초과되면 제가 부셔면 레벨이 여러 번 이래 맞으면 부셔 통이 레벨이 제가 통이 레벨이 도와 어떻게 개화 마게 본 데가 나지 참바 마시나 장보시는데 개화 직주고 마셔가지고 직녀보시는데 개화 신성아 얘네 미카 제약에다 마시지 카 음약에다 시작을 개화 단다 메사게다 시작해요 말이야 단다 여밖에 시작 개화 아니 사람보다 아니 최상한데 얘네 쌤들랑만 디고 삼들이야 아 삼들 하나 삼개월에 힘만삼에 한 저도 아 아티브도 하나 가려 요도 디도 삼바나 Tiga. Dia mau macam nanti kau dua cara sering dua, jadi masa ni aku yang kau dicoba, ada yang kalau sana tiga. Ni juga ni ini. Samye Institute kau ni ya, isi ya, tiga. Dia cuci. Siapa? Cuci itu kalau cerang-cerang ada juga tun matang mentala, bom macam mentala. Cerang-cerang senang suku ni, jadi ni mungkin dia cuci tu. Mikir macam orang tak boleh masuk. Cuci itu lah, mikir macam cuci sebelum ni, mikir macam sebelum ni na. Cuci macam cuci itu dah, cuci mikir macam cuci ni dah, cuci pada sini. Tengok mana. Jadi ini tu cuci saya tu, orang nampak ada jual soalnya tu, macam nampak ada wong, kan? Macam sama tang sini tu, kan?
The text then continues saying, endeavor in accepting and rejecting in accords with the law of cause and effect. So here it's saying that we should put into practice the opposite of the 10 non-virtues, that being the 10 virtues. We should accept the 10 virtues and reject the 10 non-virtues in accords with the law of karma, cause and effect. And the way you do this is, for instance, in the morning when you get up and before you start your practice, you should think, reflect, and contemplate a little bit. So most of us really just go directly into our chanting practice without actually having kind of sat and kind of reflected for a little bit. And it's really important to do this. You know, you can just, before you start your session, before you start your chanting practice, you can kind of turn the mind, look inwards, and reflect. Reflect on the 10 non-virtues, 10 virtues. You know, which ones have I done? Which, you know, how should I avoid them? And so, for instance, you know, the first of the 10 non-virtues is killing. The opposite of that, the virtue side of that would be to practice life release. The opposite of stealing would be to practice generosity. The opposite of, you know, you would reject sexual misconduct and instead accept or take up, you know, loving relationships. The opposite, you would reject lying and instead accept the practice of speaking honestly. You give up rough speech and speak gently. You give up idle speech, greed, and malice, and so on and so forth. So reflecting on the 10 non-virtues and how to reject them, and reflecting on the 10 virtues and how to accept them and put them into practice throughout the day is an important way to reflect before you begin your chanting practice. So, you know, just thinking well for others, thinking good for others is, you know, is what is to be accepted. It's virtue, it's wholesome actions. So the main point is that we need to check in with ourselves and see, you know, we might be practicing the Dharma. We may say we're practicing the Dharma, but are we really? Are we accepting the 10 virtues? Are we rejecting the 10 non-virtues in accordance with the law of cause and effect? So all of this lies within our palm. It's all within your reach. However, you know, if you're kind of confused as to what is to be accepted, what is to be rejected, the 10 non-virtues and the 10 virtues and non-virtues, then it's going to be hard to really practice in accordance with the law of cause and effect.
나가요 아주 Dharma House 가요. 아니 뭐라 이렇게 왔어? 다음 이번 Dharma House 가요. 버치다 मन परिवार राम्रो हुँदैछ हामी खुसी छ जाऊ बुढीले पनि कहाँ जान्छ बुढा धर्म कस्तो राम्रो पहिला पिट्थ्यो अहिले पिट्दैन कस्तो राम्रो छ जाऊ त धर्म हाउस धेरै दिन जाऊ धर्म भनेको चाहिँ मनको परिवर्तन चाहियो अनि परिवर्तन कसको हातमा छ भने अम्नुको हातमा छ कोशिश गर्नुपर्छ बिस्तारै चुटकीमा कहाँ आउँछ बिस्तारै बुझ्यो है बुझ्यो होटेलमा एकचोटि गर्नुपर्छ नेपालमा एकचोटि गर्नुपर्छ अदेमा दुआ 예당 인제를 된비 깔상기 송 아무 최제거나 저런 이거래서 인지 도도는 이 거래에서는 당고의 대성한 쉐를 대박 상지를 대박 마음구를 대박 이 대박의 인지비 당고 거래에서 대박 강라 인지 인지비 거래에서 저런 랑 딸 대박 누구도 따고 대박 누구나 야 직진 빠스 야 당한 대박요 인지 돼야죠 인지 또 세팅도 야 당한 인지가 또 쓰다고 저런 생각하고 그러고 나랑 생각하고 그러고 어디진 모르는 거 체크해 대박한 인지 있는 밑에 까르바서 한번 밀다 미안 보여서 가성 기 순도와 미안 보여서 이게 대박 인지 보고 대박 인지 여기 밑에 제들 초체 우주 톱되나 순도와 제들라 초사나 저런 게 생긴 거 상지의 통고 삼바당 춘사나 우주 니바라운데 톱고 삼나 우주 톱되나 근데 톱고 삼나 아처럼 나도 지금 남편이어서 이제 먹고나 대바제 인지저나 리그에서 산부를 제가 더 말해서 얘나양 찐들라 초지당 통몽 모두 집토고 쓰나 거나 아니 그런 거는 남편이어서 죄송합니다.
So then it says when one with the so then it says when one with the excellent fortune of possessing faith and compassion so here what it's saying is that Guru Rinpoche is telling us that we need two things, faith, right? Faith Rinpoche is just saying he gave someone a bottle of water and said, or at least today I did at least one of the 10 virtues, giving someone something. So
아마게 맞지마 땅주 이제 고소선 근데 정말처럼 광고 이런 거였나 광고들이 들어온다 팬다고 여러 말 최 광고 같았다 광고 매년 줄 집어가 왔다니
So Rinpoche is asking, the audience, so who's really helping who here? Am I helping the old lady by giving her water, or is she helping me? And he's explaining how actually she's really the one who's helping Rinpoche because he's giving her this really precious opportunity to practice generosity. And then, in other circumstances, you can think that, for instance, beggars are extremely kind to us because they give us this great opportunity through which we can practice generosity and perfect the paramita of generosity. But with regards to the text, Guru Rinpoche says we need two things, faith and compassion. Faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Guru. But on top of that, you need a heart of compassion. And really, you're the one who can tell whether you have that or not. You have to check with yourself. Do I have compassion? Do I have faith or not? Do I have a sense of trust or not? If yes, then you passed. And you can check compassion. Do I have compassion? Well, maybe a little bit.
So I said, when you give something, giver.
And so if you have only
giver is the more higher position, or the receiver is more higher position. And many people say the giver is higher position. And I said, in a samsaric view, is a giver, is a savior, and I'm saving the person. Dharma point of view, the person who's receiving is a higher, because the receiving don't receive, not asking for receive. You have no place to give. That's why I like to go in New York City bicycling, looking for homeless, because I can give. So when I give, they giving me the opportunity to practice generosity, how Buddha did. But now I don't have no homeless at all, where I'm going to give anything. That's what the samsaric view is different. Dharmic view is different. And that is the real life experiences. First, I got the lower position because she's a receiver. But after somebody give me a water, so I become higher position. Higher position, I'm a receiver and she's a giver. So now you see the differences of the samsaric view and the dharmic view. Oh yeah. And Guru Rinpoche ke banu bhaya bhane
so you can check with yourself and see. You can see, where you need to improve, where you need to work on. And really, we're the only ones who can see our mind and check within ourselves. Most of us aren't really familiar or aren't aware of where we're at with, say, our compassion practice or the depth of our faith. And here Guru Rinpoche is telling us that a person who has these two things of faith and compassion is a fortunate being, a good person who's blessed with lots of fortune. And when such a person wishes to attain the supreme and common cities in this life, so here it says the supreme and common cities, the supreme cities being basically referring to recognizing the nature of mind, and the common cities, all of these different powers. So, Guru Rinpoche is saying that if you have those two, that's actually enough. But if you want to attain the supreme and common cities in this very lifetime, well then I will show you the path. Okay? So that's what Guru Rinpoche is teaching us here.
देख्नको लागि यो जीवनमा अनि चाहिन्छ भने यसो ज्ञान चाहिन्छ भने और मानको सिद्धि इच्छा पूरा हुन सिद्धि भन्छ भनेको चाहिँ तिमी आफ्नो मान चाहिँ चिन्तामणि भएर चिन्तामणि भनेको चाहिँ मानको इच्छा के भए पनि पूरा हुने चिन्तामणि हुनु मान्छ भने गुरुले अनि म अर्को सिकाउँछु भन्नु यसो चाहिँदैन भने भक्ति र विश्वास र करुणा भए पनि पुग्छ गुरुले के भने सिकाउनु पर्दैन योले पुग्दैन भने Ini yo man ko sebab henu lagi, bukan henu lagi, dikung lagi, man aku ani cita mani, ani jaste. Man ni kes ulte bare paune ko lagi, citi cita bane, ani guru ni mata aku dekha chu ban. Bujhe eh? 10 मिनट बसिदाउँछु अनि अहिले 10 मिनट पछि अनि ब्रेक हुन्छ ल वाङकी युमिन धामजिक नाम तापे सं धामबो तापमा न्यामे सुबे धामबो वाङ सुबो ए सं वाङ युमिन सं वा लामाजिक तवे लामाया को जिक जिका de देखने लामाजिक तेने वाङजी सुने चरन जितने गोरे सं जितने गोरे सेना Marang di lütni sang kudoji, marang di mat sungdoji, marang di semde, yishe zangthal tukdoji, marang di semde modelu yishe doji chine, di doji shite, ini sangji yinba hakod, kangdar marang di semde modela, marang di lütni mod, marang di mat mod, marang di semde modela, sangji yinba hakod. Yes, he had a rest of the one to yes, he won't be in the song. One should not degrade the Marias. Tamsik Nam Tabe, Tamsik said the Guru Rinpoche, one the song the Tamsik in the song. One the shoots have a jesu, one the chinapte, Charan Yarbu look some na, Tamsik song go, yes. So 여러분 big 속 여러분 이 나시게 진랍게 소데 무릎게 소다버데 원게 소다버데 담직해서 담직이하고 마송나 얘네 저랑 무릎 턱도 많아서 아 인상 먼저 밀라 최진 먼저 많이 왕学배 가고 많이 되죠 나왕 먹고 싶다 하나 로 제니 달로 이게 다 같이 그래 말로 나와 좋은 거 줄을 아마 나와 주 나와 주 같이 니만님 줄을 아마 마 드림기야나 마 드림기야나 산이 누구 근데도 보지 때문에 방황하는 데서 이쪽으로 나와 주 때문에요 인조를 보지 방황하는 데서 상황에서 마다 주는 것도 아마 있습니다 나서 방식을 잠재다다 상황 Alright, tamzik that pala tan kya watang. Wang te te project lama ze wang shu. Tamzik na ta. Di jin de ni tamzik chilap te yong de ina yang one yong bu sana te guru bu chi song di wang di yu bin tamzik nam pa de tamzik ya bu song. Mo nam ta sang ma song. Mo song. Ini tam ta wang di shu za tamzik ya bu yo cha tu ta di gang la. Ini dah mundur bungsi ya, mundur bungsi, yes. Semua. So, ini jadi dong. Ani guru le, pada yang nonton.
Next it reads, they should become ripened through empowerment and with totally pure samaya. So here, Guru Rinpoche directly goes into teaching on the practice of the path of mantra. So he recommends that we request empowerment from a qualified guru who possesses the complete lineage, and through receiving empowerment, ripening one's being. What does it mean to become ripened? It means to recognize your body as the Vajra body, your speech as Vajra speech, your mind as Vajra mind, and your being as Vajra wisdom. So it's that recognition that we ripen and cultivate through the empowerment. Then Guru Rinpoche asks us, is that enough? Well, no, it's not sufficient just to receive empowerment. You also need to uphold the samayas. So that is the way in which we can keep the blessings, maintain and sustain the blessings from the empowerment is through upholding totally pure Samaya. Samaya is like the life force. Samaya is like the life force of the empowerment. So without the Samaya, without the life force, there's no hope of attaining any siddhis, any accomplishments, or any major results from the practice. So these days, most modern people, they love receiving empowerments, as many as possible. And I'm the same. I've received so many empowerments. My mother told me that when I was 8 months old, I received an empowerment, and in fact, even I think it was like 2 days after I was born, I received an empowerment, and then from Dogo Phakchok Rinpoche, and 8 months after that, another empowerment. Of course, I have no memory of any of that. All of that comes to me from my mother, and you can see there they didn't really focus, or pay much care or attention to Samaya. Just the main thing was to receive the empowerment. But here, Guru Rinpoche is telling us that, if you really want the blessings and to sustain and increase them, the most important thing is to be totally pure with your Samaya, which is, in other words, to uphold and keep your Samaya. Following this, Guru Rinpoche tells us he will go into the topic of the preliminary practices of the 4 times 100,000 accumulation practices.
गुरुले धेरै तकलिफ गरेर 2 घण्टा मुख दुख्ने त भनी तिमी पनि कान सबै पाक्नेले सुनि अनि घर पुगेपछि सबै पानीमा फाट्यो यसो नआउनेको लागि चाहिँ यहाँ तिमीहरू लेख्नुको लागि हात दुखाउनुको लागि सबै बनाएर तिमीको खुबैमा टास्नेको लागि I know how to speak Nepali. Make them laugh. Nepali doesn't have so much tradition to write down. No, Western group. So whenever I give teaching, they very happy to listen. After they go back, they forget most of it. So I print out like this. So I told them not to have any pain in your hand. On top of that, I make this for you to remember, but before to stick in your forehead. But I have a way of saying Nepali, language. It's make laugh. I also take charge from
So we'll take a short break here. And when we come back, we'll talk about the preliminary practices, the Ngundro practices.
Lam Ji Zawa Jiaosu Zhuo Tang Song. Português Bom Chico Name, Mangbote, Yamdurva. Bibi Sogo Gane, Laquate, Medo, Yamani, Hinga. It is the large, it is the Hanas, it is the Irans. Some child in the young Laquate, some service up in 2 months. You go to Charles and Capsule, Sarah the Luke, Mango Gone. 말한 찍고 온다. 참. 말하는 순간 나오자. 남들 나와야 봐. 좋아. 나와야 봐. 좋아. 이 주로 막아서 이 야가 생기 이제 이 약도서 좀더 보는 것이라 일본이시 양이 본초는 것이다. 봤어. 자와 수 우수 그래서 가만히 뭐 마시나요? 함지 모르는 것이다. 상대여 삼네 이니 마시나 도나 야고차나 야고마사나 모르는 것이 치신 치고 치 가려주는 소스는 이기 전에 장자차 장자차도 셈나 가려서 보면 막상 마치지 봐도 다 모르는 것이 치료는 잡서도 나랑 찍고 지금 셈전 털지 치도 잡서도 잡서도 가면 차스를 따고 나랑 몇번 줄네 차스가 있나 차 찍지를 않아서 참 몸에 손한 또 어디 어떻게 차스랑 네 물을 붙이다네 옷을 받으면 맞춰야 돼 옷을 맞게 니마처럼 니마는 옷을 물어봐 그냥 옷을 물을 받으면 나랑 나랑 파마 심지어 탐지 뒷받을 다소 삼 사들 다소 삼 지체 내가 그래 맞아 다소 비슷히 살아있어 이랬잖아 삼들 나는 다소 다 제일 SB 내시 보면서 쟤네 망보 정신 찍으면은 정신 사만한 거를 때문에 정신 검면은 거를 이제 그리고 정신 여러 번 사망고 검잖아 탐지 거를 때문에 거를 때문에 거를 또 지지고 참 이런 거를 이제 대표하는 막 괜찮아 이런 마시고 막 보아잡사 자 와도 거 잡는 요거죠 이래는 이제 나는 쌤이 차서 말하는 쌤이 뭐당 그를 무슨이 제발 매번 좋소 제발 매번 때 야만에 제발 매번 예 봐도 단단 제발 매번 지고 말이 삼나 어디 잡으러 보내지 삼 만족 삼나 잡으러 삼나 빼나 주동과 지도가 이렇게 걸도 동바 팀부를 무슨 먼저 사람들 그룹을 가지고 지나기 지나는 누구 요래 사람들이 있어요. 봐. 어디 먼저도 사람들이 따오는 얘는 진짜 독도자가 그룹을 가지고 막 팀모두 답수 말하는 있으면 그룹을 가지고 예매도 좋고 저기 답수 이 찌를 차서 삼바데 마시어 제네 호란이 방법하는 카가 많이 삼아야 돼. 그 메시지 내서 어떤 디잡로스 제가 나중에 총선 상황이 틀려지고가 이 아래에서나 군조를 보지는 가서 자와서 우수 탐지 찍게 했어요. 나도 가가가 내 삼모도가 봐봐지 봐봐 내가 잠베요 찾아를 미래를 써다 내가 제는 말도 그것도 참 찍게 상모도가 일빈할 지도 그렇게 그걸 이제 토아 보사 토아에 봐봐면 보사 토아 라고도 되면 탐지 찍게 점프가 그렇게 찍게 소신 탐지 그걸 이제 템 세그리 이 가서 탐지 찍어야 했을 거 같아. 얘는 뭐를 보지 나랑 팀스도와 나랑 무슨 뭐다 이 잡으로 타고 좋대 내도와 남지 자와 잡으로와 스페티
So the text reads, "Go for refuge, which is the root of the path." So here we know that the first of the 400,000 accumulations of the Wundro, or preliminary practices, is the practice of refuge. To do the practice of going for refuge, you first take your hands in prayer position, holding them like a lotus flower at your heart center. And Rinpoche demonstrated how you then touch your hands to your forehead, neck, or throat, and chest, representing body, speech, and mind. And then you make a prostration, a full prostration. And when you kind of when you go down to do prostration, you don't immediately come back up. Then again, raise your hands above your head in prayer position, like Rinpoche demonstrated. And as you do so, you visualize before you visualize yourself prostrating. You visualize hundreds upon thousands upon millions of your own bodies emanating out in all directions, making prostrations all together. You visualize your father on your right, your mother on your left, and all of your enemies and adversaries before you, and all sentient beings in all directions, all prostrating together. Prostrating to, first and foremost, Guru Rinpoche, who's the embodiment of the three jewels, the three roots, and the three kayas. All of the sources of refuge are Guru Rinpoche. And as you prostrate to the refuge field, what you have in mind is that, no matter whether things go well or not, no matter whether I'm happy or sad, I surrender completely to Guru Rinpoche. I put all my trust and faith in you. With that in mind, you make your prostrations, thinking that until I attain the state of full awakening, until I'm completely enlightened, I go for refuge in you. And it's not only me, but all sentient beings. Until all beings are awakened, I go for refuge. As you prostrate, and then when you've completed your prostrations, you visualize that light emanates out from Guru Rinpoche, touches you, your parents, and all beings, and completely purifies all of your evil deeds and obscurations. And you need to be completely certain and confident that, yes, indeed, I'm completely pure, I'm completely clean. So a lot of practitioners think that, okay, I've been purified, but there's got to be just at least a little bit, some filth or some impurity left behind, right? But it's a key point of practice to really be absolutely sure, absolutely confident that you are completely and fully pure. Then the refuge field, if you're visualizing the full refuge field, that would then dissolve into Guru Rinpoche. And then Guru Rinpoche then descends through the top of your head, basically the Poa hole, as it were, the top of the Avaduti channel, dissolves through there into your heart center, becoming and then you and Guru Rinpoche become completely one, completely a perfect union. And it's not that you and Guru Rinpoche suddenly became one in that moment. So it's not that, through doing this practice, you suddenly are one. You make yourself become one with Guru Rinpoche. No, instead, you and Guru Rinpoche were one from the very beginning. There was never a time where you and Guru Rinpoche were ever separate. But many of us have this idea that, we're like this. And Rinpoche showed he held up an empty water bottle. And then we think we're like the empty water bottle. And Guru Rinpoche is like the full water bottle. And then Rinpoche poured a little bit of water from the full one into the empty one. And he said, that's how we imagine, our practice of refuge, that, it's kind of these two separate bottles, and Guru Rinpoche is kind of mingling and mixing with us. But actually, that's not the case. There is never a single moment in which Guru Rinpoche was ever the slightest bit separate from us. We've been one with Guru Rinpoche from the very beginning. So that is a really key point of practice, and it's that we call refuge. So you visualize the dissolution happening, the three jewels, the three roots, and the three kayas. When you visualize those dissolving into Guru Rinpoche, what that's telling us is that, in fact, Guru Rinpoche is the very embodiment of the three sources of refuge. He's one and the same. Okay? However, most people tend to miss that and think something differently. Some people think that they're actually all separate, right? I've been asked by different people questions like, who is higher or who is better, Amitayas or Guru Rinpoche? And they miss this key point that, in fact, they're one and the same, right? They're a single essence. So it's that recognition that is it's this recognition that is the ultimate refuge practice.
상제비기체도 많이 되거든요. 좋아? 내가 세상아. 상제비기체도 연장되고요. 상제비기체도 맞춤이 되고요. 삼나 다티 내가 네가 모르겠어. 세상아. 아, 나도 그냥 돌아와. 샘제 Samye Dunga Dunga Di Yu Dang Tarne Zote Samye Di Ko Wang Rinpoche Topara Sho. How Samye Samye Dunga Di Yu Dang Tarne Samye Ko Wang Topara Sho. 죄송합니다. 내려오다가 애들 상담. Kira kaya masina ya. This sila samne ini gambar sangha kari chena. This samna chena lega kari chechua kang berna ya. This samne bawa tu beri. Yes. Sangye jadi. Macam orang tangga, ubur tangga, memang ubur tangga. Ubur matang. Bapa dan bapa show. Bapa saya bicara dengan bapa tak. Sampai. Siapa? Ada yang nak saya tu, sekian tu teman. Bapa saya bapa nak saya sendiri. Jadi nak sampai mana? Malu saya berkata, cuma tangga ada yang sampai beri. Nampak jika kita saya yang mana sampai, doa. Ada yang sampai tutup. Sampai tutup. Sampai tachin. Setahun, ini dia ada cara yang sangat besar di sini. Itu saja. Semua orang itu semua berdoa. Jalan di ibu jangan semua. Ni semua di sambatan dekat siapa. Jadi.
Then next it reads. And arouse the twofold bodhicitta, the essence of the path. So what this is saying is that there's basically two aspects to bodhicitta here. The first is saying, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And then the second is saying, may they all be free, may they all awaken to Buddhahood. So if you have these two together, that is bodhicitta. But only if you only have the first, only the wish for beings to be free from suffering, that doesn't quite qualify as bodhicitta. But with the second, the wish for them, for beings to attain awakening, that then is bodhicitta, the mind of awakening. Does that make sense? So we can think of these two as one being kind of one being the one that you do by thinking, the theoretical aspect, and the other, and so that would be the the aspirations, like may this happen, may they be free from suffering, may they attain awakening. This aspiration. And the second is the more doing, the practical aspect, right? So you could say, so that in order that beings may be free from suffering and attain awakening, I'm chanting manas. So beings can be free from suffering and attain awakening. I'm offering water bowls of water. Or I'm offering butter lamp, or what have you. You're actually doing something active, right? So here, Guru Rinpoche is telling us that we need both, right? And then Rinpoche had everyone repeat, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and then may they attain awakening. So he repeated that in a way that kind of stresses the real essential pith nature of bodhicitta. And he said that, no matter what you do, if you just keep that phrase in mind, right, you can do whatever you want and you're guaranteed to attain awakening yourself and for others. So for example, a lot of people here are Uber drivers. So you can think, as you're driving around in your Uber car, you can think, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings awaken to Buddhahood. And, to that extent, or for that sake, I'm driving in my car. I'm going around and driving Uber. You can do that. You can think like that. We don't need to have a very kind of narrow mind. We need this wider view in which we can embrace whatever activities we're doing with bodhicitta. Rinpoche tells us that will be of great benefit.
진압을 하시고 출을 하시고 나에만 대체로 삼세 생사 이스트 유지 공세도와 유지만 하는 것으로 나로서 참들 유지 고면에 빼깔리 내가 샤워를 하는지 샤워를 속옷에서 샤워를 하는지 출진 땅으로 땅 보고 가는 자 행이 이제 잘 있으면 되는 꼭 공부면 또 샤워 뭐 밥되고 그래서 이 샤워 바로 되기도 때려야 공대고 싶이 찬이 지스라 그러니까 나서는 첫번 샤워서 되네 나중에 하나 되어라 샤워 저거 주기도 되게 두 삼사를 내가 하나 하면 되지 거 얘네 진앙 매번 주고 치주 낭주 설마 막 치고 이거다 줘 다소 그때 나글라마 고만은 다소 산 거래다 산 거래 이렇게 삼성 많이 한 거 당거든요 다소 닭으로지야 다음에 좀 봐. 디징이 인데 지금도 어디리 인데 지금도 다소 산 거. 이리 다 제우마도 다소 근데 이제는 하네. 이게 맞을 수 없나. 근데 이제 나는 다 다소 악사도 없이 양절 이봐 질랍 이쪽으로 강 항상 다 질랍 스는 라고 그래서 나 그때 한테 다소 그래서 네 보고 저 이비한테 다소고 연장 소서 그래서 다소는 근데 또 됐어요. 팀네 저랑 쌤 또 됐어요. 그때 근데 나랑 쌤도 됐어요. 얘만 제발 요만 나랑 하고 참 근데 뭐 도서 뭐 됐어요. 되나? 그래서 디파스는 다르게 미게 왔죠. 디파스는 다르게 영어가 또 그래서 왔다. 아니 아일리야 마하구루 파드마samba와네
So next, Guru Rinpoche says, all evil deeds and obscurations, the conditions opposing experiences and realizations of the ultimate part of the path of Vajrayana, should be purified through the profound practice of Vajrasattva. So here it's saying that the ultimate and final part of the path is the path of Vajrayana, and along with it, it has its particular meditative experiences and realizations that we are working towards. However, the things that oppose those and obstruct those are two. The two things mentioned here, evil deeds and obscurations. So you often see these terms, evil deeds, negative deeds, and obscurations in the text. But what do they mean? So evil deeds basically refers to the 10 non-virtues, whereas the obscurations refer to the afflictions, right? The five poisons, attachment, anger, ignorance, and so forth. And also the clinging to self, clinging to the ego, having a sense of self. Right? And so we should think that through the practice of Vajrasattva, these things, the evil deeds and obscurations, are completely purified, absolutely 100% purified. But most of us, we think, well, it's probably purified. I'll just assume it's purified. But really, as we can see in the text, it says all evil deeds and obscurations, right? Without exception. So the way to purify that is through the practice of Vajrasattva. So how exactly do you practice? And so Vajrasattva practice is the second of the mudra, right? The first being refuge and bodhicitta, and the second is the meditation and recitation of Vajrasattva. So how do you visualize and recite the Vajrasattva practice? Well, you begin by visualizing a grand lotus flower at the top of your head, upon which sits Vajrasattva. And whether it's only Vajrasattva or with consort, it doesn't matter. Different texts will describe it differently. But either way, he will be holding a 5-pointed Vajra of gold in the center. In the center of which is the syllable hum, the white hum, holding it in his heart center, around which the 100-syllable mantra is coiled, almost like a snake, coiled around, like how a snake can coil up. And the mantra garland then spins. And so that's what you visualize while you hold your mala in your left hand and you recite the 100-syllable mantra. Right? And you might be wondering, who is Vajrasattva exactly? Well, we should understand our own guru, our own lama, and Guru Rinpoche and Vajrasattva, all as being one and the same. We should think of them as the same essence. And indeed, as the same essence of our Guru Rinpoche and Vajrasattva are all one. And sometimes, often in the texts, in the liturgies, you'll see it says, homage to Lama Dorsen or Guru Vajrasattva. And that's reminding us that, our Guru is Vajrasattva and Vajrasattva is our Guru. They're one and the same. So, following that, you then visualize nectar descending down from Vajrasattva and entering you and purifying you of all evil deeds and obscurations without exception. And that visualization can be a little tricky at first, but I found the best way to think of it is as like a shower. And in fact, what I've done before is you can get in the shower and you feel the water pouring down on your head. And you can recite the 100 syllables 2 or 3 times and really get a sense of that. And then you can get out. And then later when you practice, you can really feel it.
Ini manner the tahu tak lakukan manner sebenarnya orang sangga yang ulga yang kalau ini leji syak, apa? Ini cuci nama, cisam cuci tu. Itu juga di tu sejak minggu. Cisam cuci sem ini seperti lawan ini jadi betul. Ada lembaga nama pria di jalan rawu di kalau saya jenah rawu, jenah rawu, berbuci kita ni, orang butik rawu, juta, seluruh, serta muda. Ini mesti regu, siapa cik nama pria kita sarba di sana. Nanti mangkut jadi satu betul. Sekarang kurang sahaja kita mangkut. Mangkut macam mana itu 把充满是的，是看学问去，学问上了，那长个的中国人，我都真的是，日后啥话也想，日后啥话呢？你不要再来啥话有了吧？那路，你我这个怎样了？你有啥话呢？他就我们刚刚就说到的。yang sahabat yang itu cek orang itu minggu ada orang itu na ini dos maju pada maju nah ini Cina cuma na ini kita mereka tu sangat jauh mereka nak cek dia baca asal kita orang eksak ini mau pada itu na ini sarba ini itu Cina jumbo sini dia siapa coba lihat dulu para sekitar ini jadi bunda begitu juga rumpus kasih lu boleh ya so jangan kita mau yang senang rumpus di kontrol makai uang di lagi jeda yes ilu jangan ini tempat juga ya so jangan kita mau tinggal kemudian nana cuma kasih lu boleh 그래도 그거는 가만히 있어야 하고 말아. 쇼바라 하고 얘기해서 하고 그래서. 이 장가들도 그거 주도 와서 하고 사고 됐지. 하긴 하고 사. 나만 다시 또 왔어. 이제 다음에는 그 무슨 말을 말을 듣다가 약속을 맞을 때 선선 일치 빠져로 당부 Dambul lenta kawaii tino mo yung so to mo tugi ni sa wa ene daglu dongchu gezo kun dambul jala janya pwede ni sana ka pwede ena nga janya pwede selo sawa to benga ka nga pwede sambe na benga ko ta nya choro wa ti kyo pwede mo ni ba te ka da na lose marang so ko 롱주에서 나랑 비자라 계속 저는 나랑 손을 써서 얘가 그러봐 이형 그게 상보를 봐도 나랑 대 요자가는 막도 같이 나랑 그 해야 돼 바구니 파 순수이나 잠불링 상만자가 그게 라고 이메다 하는 데 그래서 맨날 그야 가르쳐 나랑 비자라 나랑 소고 나랑 디슨 진바지 누가 진짜 디미과 거는 두고 그래 봐도 미 잠볼링 시초로 그냥 그게 나랑 시디 이과잖아 하고 막 그렇게 돼. 나랑 계속 간대 제일 한 이게 되지. 나랑 진짜 그래요. 이거 이바 그래서 아딜라 가르세그리 잔다딜라 투구 매터스 롱구 매터스 해야 돼. 아 신탐 오바미 신탐 아 여러분 신탐 다음에 오바미 신탐은 신기 신탐 다음에 같이 이타제 이거 보면 뒤에 라이브 롱구 신탐이야 맞아 중심에 롱구 매터야 맞아 추구 매터스 해야 돼 다들 이렇게 라면 주거나 곰제 근데 매터 ini semudah nih tongwani bom 매터 부산 생기지 나랑 나랑 후회하게 매터 집어 마시 집어 가요 매버 가는 매터 두려나 근데 추구만 알았어 그래서 이 라면 이거 고쳐 먹었죠 좀 더. 그래? 피셔야 되나? 나랑 땅에만 나랑 뭐라지? 뭐라 당? 년. 뭐를 집어지었어. 뭐를 짜는 저보다는 추구. 이제 가서. 내가 삼바 나는 누가 집어도 내가 니만 입이 가만나. 맨날 가르치 뭐라지? 엠바 안 집어야 뭐라. 니만 이스 뭐라 줄 뭐라 안 내라. 진이 못 대하라 했을 때 지 나서야. 담보 니만 담보 뭐라 사와니 또 네모텐 들어와 네발 들어와 짜라라 그 소고는 바래지 않는 깔래라 지금 뭐라 사와라 지마니 아 맨날 그리 말레부터 띵잡서 잡서 제가 나는 그렇다. 가서 꼭 맨날 비서도 그 제발 총 두고 살아. 제가 나는 그냥 제발도 그냥 쑥 쳐버 나는. 근데 제가 저 제거를 만도 나도 대배. 나도 잘라 삼아. 신심받이. 이제 내 말아 그래는 근데 무시 베데. 네, 그게 다 보니. 나랑 애들이 이제 나랑 선물이 난 가와다 들어도 난 야, 안되는 거 봐도 상상 하고 맞대로 좀 맞대. 아니 맞아. 그래서 보시면 인생하고 똑똑하고 추억이 똑똑하고 제만 매번 똑똑하고 도심 보면 그 초랑 뒷발라 제만 마시고 탑더라 도심 거 그래서 내가 노르폰 상대 뒷발져라 봐 뒷발은 제만 마시고 도심 예와다 말랑 잘라야 보다 예와를 쓰바시고 봐 제만 마시고 가라 맨저 강다라 독자를 제만 마시고 가라 도심 야고를 제만 마시고 가라 자 그래서 이니가 제만 마시고 돌도는 나들이 맨날 내가 네발 이렇게 돈 시켜서나 들이 내셔. 난 네발지를 또 설명 하나 이제 계속을 또 슬래까 진짜 오늘 와. 그래서 내가 이거 아주 아니 모르는
So,
멘탈 사람은 봤어.
there's still a little bit from the Vajrasattva we need to finish. So, right. So, Rinpoche is really stressing the important point that we know to be absolutely certain and confident that we're 100% purified through this practice, and with that confidence, you can really feel the purity. And following that, there's the second stream of nectar that comes down from Vajrasattva, filling you with the blessings. So Vajrasattva will say, "Yes, my son, my daughter, I have purified you completely, full stop, period." And then Vajrasattva dissolves into you, and you become one with Vajrasattva. In the same way we described before, that that you have never actually, in fact, ever been separate. And with that recognition that you are, in fact, one. So that's the practice of Vajrasattva, with the aim of purifying your evil deeds, which are the 10 non-virtues, and the and the obscurations, which are the 5 poisons. And we turn to the practice of the mandala, which reads in the text, in order to complete accumulations of merit and wisdom, the conducive conditions, offer mandalas of the ocean-like pure realms of the 3 kayas. So here we can see that the Vajrasattva practice is to purify the negative things, and the practice of mandala is to accumulate the positive things, right? Namely the accumulations of merit and wisdom. So here it describes the mandala offering practice in terms of the 3 kaya mandala offers, right? So what you do is you purchase the physical mandala offering plate, whether it be copper or silver or what have you, and you set out a cloth and also a little bit of saffron water, and you take a drop of saffron water and then kind of rub it or spread it across the mandala plate. And that represents bodhicitta, imbuing your practice with bodhicitta. And then you have the actual substances that you're offering on your mandala. The 5 grains, the 5 medicines, some different types of jewels or precious substances. And the important thing here is to also keep another bag of additional offering stuff, the grains and so forth, a fresh bag, right? And most people don't often do this, but it's something that's really important. So what you would do is you would make a mandala offering, and then you would take a little bit from the new bag and kind of refresh your offerings. You'd add a little bit of the new stuff into the old stuff and refresh it. And so, if you don't do that and you kind of only are reusing the old mandala offering substances, it's not bad. It's not. We can't say it's wrong. You're doing the mandala offering wrong or something, but it's better. It's preferable if you kind of refresh it with the new substances each time. So don't feel like if you did the mandala offering in the past, only recycling the old stuff, that you did it wrong or it's somehow invalid. But in the future, if you do it, make sure to keep the bag of the fresh offering substances that you can add and refresh your offerings with. Then Rinpoche mentioned that there's a certain substance that Jamyang Kensei advises putting in your mandala offering substances that has a special auspicious connection with the dakinis. And I didn't quite catch what it was, so I'm sorry about that. And he described, I don't know if it's a Nepali word, but there's something you can buy that has that substance, and it's easy just to take it from that, to add to your mandala offering substances. And that's really important, as described by Jamyang Kensei Wambo. So we'll just have to follow up with Rinpoche on that later and find out exactly what it was. So then turning to the 3 kaya mandala offerings. Right? In the mandala offering text that we practice, it describes saying, I offer my body, my enjoyments. Okay, and I just got a message from Nata. Thank you, Shri. Clarify that, saying it's the cowrie shells. Right? So it's important to include cowrie shells in your mandala offering. So that was what that substance was. Cowrie shells, and in Tibetan it's drombo. So thank you, Nata, for that clarification. So in the mandala text it says, I offer my body, my stuff, and my accumulations of virtue. So that's an important thing to consider. You're offering your wealth, right? Your possessions. You can't just sit there doing your mandala offering thing. I'm offering all the wealth in the world. I'm emptying out all the banks in the world for this mandala offering, but I'm keeping all my stuff to myself and not offering that and kind of clinging to that. That would be a wrong approach to practice, right? So, but either way, offering that in that way is the Nirmanakaya offering. The Sambhogakaya mandala offering is to offer the Pure Lands, like Sukhavati and so forth, turning those into an offering. The Dharmakaya mandala offering is a little bit of a headache. Will be a little bit of a headache for you all. It's difficult to comprehend. But basically, it's resting within the natural state, within the recognition of the nature of mind, in which there is no offerer, there's no one offering the mandala, there's no recipient of the mandala offering, and there's no offering of the mandala itself. So to offer without any clinging in this way is the Dharmakaya, mandala offering. So I'll share one quick personal story with you all. Before I used to own this car. It's actually the first car. It was the first car I ever had, and I really loved that car. I had a lot of strong attachment and clinging to that car. I felt like I would need to clean it even when it wasn't dirty. And so what I ended up doing when I recognized, how strongly attached I was to that car, I actually offered it in a mandala offering. I drove up to the spot, and I was practicing mandala offerings, and I visualized offering that car. And I offered, and after I completed the mandala offerings, when I was driving down, I got in a car accident. And the funny thing about that is that, before, when I would take the car to the repair shop and get it fixed, they would kind of, in Nepal, they have this equipment that's quite loud. And
okay, so I'm going to stop here for today. Tomorrow will be the 7:30. And what we today finish is 4 conclusion. We finish Vajrasattva and Mandala. Tomorrow we begin the Guru Yoga. And the Guru Yoga after, then we going to begin with the main visualization Mahayoga practice. And it gives you the really good picture of how to do it correctly. And so we begin tomorrow 7:30. Then you need to bring this paper because I'm going to talk about Samye tomorrow. Sonam Sajanam, Shubharatri, good night, and see you tomorrow 7:30.
So the teachings are concluded. There's still just a little bit of translation I'd like to share with you all if people are still on Zoom. Rinpoche was talking about his car story. And the interesting thing about getting in that accident is that previously, when I would take the car in to get repaired, and they would use this kind of strong, loud equipment on it, it felt like it was hurting the car and it's even hurting me. I had that strong of clinging to this car. But when I got in the accident, and the car was completely wrecked, I didn't have, that same sense of pain or hurt. And that was all due to the practice of mandala offerings. So, in essence, the mandala offerings reduces our clinging to the positive things, whereas the practice of Vajrasattva reduces our clinging to the negative things, right? So we may feel like, we've done evil deeds in the past, and we have some clinging, regret to that. So we purify that clinging through Vajrasattva. And through the mandala, we purify our clinging to the good stuff, our possessions, our body, our virtue. We purify that clinging, right? So that was just the last bit of the mandala offering. And Rinpoche said we'll start tomorrow from 7:30, and we'll continue with the Mahayoga practices. So have a good night, everyone.